Hi everyone, I am Amy Coghlan, a teacher at Kozen Yoga. I discovered yoga when I was 18 years old, and my parents encouraged me to go become active, do something, because I was quite unhealthy and unhappy, and I was searching for something, and they suggested yoga. So that's how I came about it. It was probably, I loved the class that I went to, but it wasn't until maybe a month into it that I decided, I didn't decide, but I just realized how much I did love it. And it wasn't so much the actual class, it was how I felt after I did yoga. And I hadn't experienced that feeling for a very, very long time. It felt like I was slowly getting back to my true self, which I hadn't in a very long time. It's this slow transition, and you start to realize that every day you're waking up with a little more ease, you're being kinder not only to yourself but to others. So what you practice on the mat is starting to slowly transition into your everyday life. You're being more mindful, and you just feel lighter, happier, and you just, what you practice is starting to implement into how you treat yourself and others. So that's what yoga's about, really. Health-wise, it just encouraged me to see how much I could benefit, improve my life. So I started feeling as if like, oh, I want to try that pose, and I want to try this, and I wonder how many classes I can get in a week, because I loved going. And then it started to transition into, well, you know, if yoga makes me feel this good, I wonder if maybe I changed my eating habits, if that would make me feel good too. So I started to get, not addicted, but really fall in love with how I felt after I did yoga, and it inspired me to change other areas in my life. And I became just mindful. I wasn't even aware when I used to eat food. I wasn't conscious, I wasn't thinking about what I was putting into my body. And when I introduced yoga into my life, it made me very, very mindful about the food choices and what I wanted to fuel my body with. So it just became, I became more aware, I became more mindful, and I became healthier in the long run. And I travelled 45 minutes to come in to do a class, and I met all the different teachers, I met Paul, and I just absolutely fell in love with the studio, and was practicing, you know, about 4 to 5 times a week, and making the journey in, and just absolutely fell in love with the energy and the community. And Paul found out that I had done my teacher training, and he offered me to take a few poses in a class once, and then from then Paul offered me this fantastic opportunity, and I've been a teacher at Kozen ever since. The 28-day revolution is really exciting, and I love it. I am a personal trainer and a coach, as well as a yoga teacher, and I have a real passion for healthy eating and for training and for yoga. So Paul decided to join all the forces together and create a program for us Kozen yogis to have a course per se to introduce more yoga into your life, introduce more healthy eating, and introduce fitness and physical activity. So the 28-day revolution is that. It's a 28-day challenge to try and get 6 days of yoga in per week, and then fun workshops with myself, learning about food, nutrition, healthy, mindful eating, and to just encourage to lead a more physical lifestyle. One of the greatest things that I've loved is to see how the course has brought people together, and then when they come into the class, there's a little community now. Everyone talks to each other, so there was a little bit of you know, people would come into class and they just set up their mat and lay down. But now, after, you know, people come in and do the 28 days or other courses that we run here at Kozen, everyone's a lot more familiar, and they'll set up their mats next to each other and say hi, and there's a real community, which I love. We've had some great weight loss stories. So there's been a few people who you can just tell have absolutely transformed. They look amazing. There's been some people who have just kept going instead of just holding the challenge of doing 6 days of yoga per week. 2 months later, they're still doing their, you know, 5 to 6 times a week, and I think that's just one of the greatest things to see. People having their green smoothies every day and just continuing on. Really, it's not really a challenge anymore for them, it's a way of life. I've been sharing a really good quote with my students this week actually, that says yoga is not about touching your toes, it's about what you learn on the journey down there. So some days I can't touch my toes, and it's due to different things, stress, tiredness, and it just as that quote says, it's not what yoga's about. Yoga's about coming together. It's about just unfolding and really letting go and just seeing where your practice can take you. And that doesn't matter if it takes you all the way to your toes or if it takes you to your knees. It's just about enjoying, experiencing and living yoga. They're a funny bunch. I love them all. I love when they walk in the door and what everyone, you know, just their spirit when they walk in. Everyone is so happy to be here, and that's probably the one thing I hear every day is they go, oh, I'm so happy to be here, and they are. They're so happy to just be in the room and to do some yoga. And everyone is so friendly. There's a real community. The teachers are just fantastic, and Paul and Lauren have just really built a business with a really strong foundation of just a love of yoga, and that's why the community is the way that it is. I would encourage, what haven't you got to lose? And usually the answer is nothing. So why not come give Kozen Yoga a go and see where your practice can take you? You never know where you might be in 3, 6, 12 months time. Come try it out. Teenage years. Growing up, I really loved Michael Jackson. I think I was a dancer, and I can do the moonwalk. So
can we get done with that?
No, I can't do it on carpet.
No? Okay.
But yeah, I think Michael Jackson is awesome.
Can you do the Michael Jackson head sway or? Okay, good. And your favourite song would be?
Black or White.
Okay. Yeah, just can you give a bit of the chorus or?
Yeah. It don't matter if you're black or white.
Black or white.